Piercing the body is one of the most enduring human rituals. Evidence of decorative piercing dates back to 5000 BC. But the modern revival of body piercing as we know it today was developed in part by Fakir Musafar. Widely regarded as the father of the modern primitives movement, Fakir is known worldwide for his 50 years of research and personal exploration of primitive body decoration. I caught up with him in San Francisco at his semi-annual Body Piercing Intensive, a 5-day workshop covering the techniques and spirituality of 29 types of piercing. How many of these people have had any experience with piercing at all?
We have a mixed bag here, and we find it works pretty good. Like Sonny and Paul over here has been piercing about 6 years, and Sonny's been piercing about 4 years. So what they do is to come here to find out, the more sophisticated techniques, because it's about the only place you can go in the world to find that.
We pierce tongues which way? Top down, right? Why do we pierce them top down? Start with your important mark, right? Because who cares if I miss the bottom by a millimeter? Nobody. Miss the top by a millimeter, piercing's crooked every time.
We teach in the basic course 29 piercings, I believe. We add another dozen or so for the advanced course, so say about 40. Believe me, coming out to San Francisco and landing in a class with us and with Fakir, you're in for a lot of things that you might not have expected.
What's the number one part of the tongue piercing that sucks? Clamp. So, what's the best thing I could do to her?
Get the clamp off as soon as possible.
Get the clamp back off as quick as possible.
To me, the tongue piercing is the most hardcore piercing someone could do because it's such a thick muscle. I mean, we're not talking about a thin piece of cartilage here. We're talking about your tongue.
And so I've designed my whole technique around the sole idea of the less time the clamp's on there, the less pain she experiences.
Here we go.
How's that?
Fast as
Good girl.
It didn't hurt?
Good girl.
I mean, just a little pinch. Just a little pinch. Just a little pinch? You know what? The tongue piercing was a big surprise because I was under the impression that this was going to be a really difficult thing to do. And in fact, it really went very quickly and it was just relatively easy and pain-free.
We have, hands-on exercises, we have fundamentals, we have lectures, get very heavily into the shamanic and the energy moving side of things, the Eastern medicine side of what we're doing.
Fakir's basic philosophy is really that this is more of a spiritual, more of a body exploration, more of an individual thing. He imagines a very enlightening, sort of out-of-body experience, if you can, and if you will, right? That's what he's looking for. That's his ultimate goal.
Fakir, I have to know what drove you to do this at such an early age?
Boredom. I grew up in a very stuffy, staid, limited world where people's views of what was available or what was possible or what one could do in life was about that big. And I did have some contact with other cultural ideas because it was an Indian reservation that I grew up on. And I found that I had more fascination and more interest in and found more vitality in life and the myths and the legends and the folk ways of the Native American kids and their parents that I was associating with. One of the values that bothered me immensely about the Western Judeo-Christian WASP, Catholic Lutheran culture, was this view about this relationship a person has with their body. And I saw that right off the bat with my Native American friends that they had a totally different view about this and what was divinity and what was the purpose of life and what was the purpose of living in a body was totally different. And it jarred me and I couldn't understand the viewpoint that this culture has about the body. The body to me was something that you were given and something that you lived in and something that you could use to explore the boundaries of life with. And if you didn't care to explore the boundaries, then why have a body and why be here and why even have a life? And so at an early age, about 12, I sort of rejected all those values. And I lived a dual life for like 30 years. Part of me was an A student, very attentive, never did anything wrong. I was a perfect kid. But that was just one side of me. On the other side of me, I went down into the basement, locked the door, and did all kinds of strange piercing experiments with my body.
What began in childhood as a secret exploration has evolved into what Fakir and his followers consider a path to spiritual awakening. Today, at age 73, Fakir is teaching a new generation how to use their bodies as a canvas for their souls.
Body piercing isn't just putting steel through flesh, but when you do this, you're also making an opening in the psychic body, and most of those openings are connected with some kind of a chakra. When we do this, we're dealing in the fourth chakra of your body, with your body energy. So at the moment the piercing occurs, when there's a hot feeling or an electrical tingle that runs through you when our guys hit the needle, at that moment, your heart chakra up here, this part of you, your emotional body will be opened up. Why do some people in our culture want to do this and others are in horror and reviled by it? I've been dealing with that phenomena for 50 years.
And I put that to you. What is your answer to that?
On certain cases, in order to go from one stage of life to the next or to accomplish certain things that we need to do as human beings, you need a physical experience. It's impossible without the physical ritual to go from one thing to the other. Okay, and since he wants to open up, I would suggest that we go from the outside in on both of them. You dive into the five senses, you either deprive yourself of them or you overload them or do both at the same time. This is the classic way you get out of this state of consciousness, shift gears and get into another state of consciousness.
Fakir, tell me about the sort of the act of being the piercer.
Right.
You know, and really what
Serena,
happens.
put on these gloves.
Okay.
I'm going to put you in the act. You're going to be the clamp holder.
Okay.
And we want to know if you feel any energy coming out. The only way you can understand what this is about, if it turns you off seeing it, is to do it. Then you found out what you see isn't exactly how it feels. Our two piercers are putting these on and lining up the little crosshairs in the clamp. Serena, come on over here. Now I want you to take your two little fingers and stick one in here.
Here?
In here, in the inside. Okay, now you're going to lift up on those clamps and hold them there. And
But you can see why people see this as, or characterize it as pain, because they don't have that frame of reference.
They have been programmed to think of this as pain. We deprogram them in here where we do the body piercing school. All right, Preston, now we're going to get you ready for this. You're going to feel a small prick when we put the tip of the needle in. I want you to start taking some deep breaths. I want you to breathe in and hold it. When you get it in there, hold it. And let it out slowly through your mouth. Ready, set, and pierce. Enjoy the feeling. Pain is a relative word. It depends on your state of mind. Here's how I define it. Pain is intense physical sensation that you neither want nor expect. If I get out of bed in the middle of the night and I stub my toe on the end of the bed, it hurts. That's pain. But if I sit down and I've meditated and I think I'm taking a large spear, a rod, or something like that, which I have done, I did when I was very young, and just to see what happens, take it and push it into my flesh a little bit, and then a little bit more, and push it through my flesh, I don't feel pain because I'm expecting this and I'm wanting this. This is what's happening in the other room with our body piercing right now. We are training people, and these people are different than the people you'd run into out here on the street.